Welcome all to our YouTube channel. And today we are doing a podcast on a different angle altogether. And today we have with us a special guest, Shri Atul Khirwadkar sir. He is one of the stalwart in the cooperative banking sector. And basically, to introduce sir, he has worked initially with the public sector bank. Then he moved to the cooperative banking sector, and he was CEO of Kalyan Janata Sahakari Bank. He was also appointed as CEO of NUCFDC, and presently he is acting as a consultant to many banks. And I can say he is one of the famous commentators for the UCBs and regulators. So today we will be discussing the questions which are under discussed in this forum or the cooperative sector banking. And so we have invited him on the podcast channel. So welcome sir, and today we will be asking him some under discussed, or I can say censored questions which are relating to this sector. So, sir, coming to our first question, basically, till now, UCBs have struggled a lot with respect to their capital current regulatory framework and capital raising. So, what is your idea behind this about the structural reforms, whether they are truly needed from RBI or where the system is lacking relating to the USB?
If you look at the structural reforms as far as capital is concerned, I find that it is still a work in progress. For the simple reason that Reserve Bank of India has come out with various guidelines on capital reforms, but then because of the typical nature of the urban cooperative banks, it so happens that uh, there are limitations within the act itself. So when we talk of capital reforms or bringing more capital, there's a limitation. Unless you increase the number of members, your capital doesn't grow. So what is the alternative? Alternative is do more profit and retain more profit. Second way that happens. Listing of shares in the stock exchange was the idea that was coined by Nitin Gadkari ji way back when he was handling the MSME ministry of the government of India. He had coined the idea that urban cooperative banks should also be allowed to list on the MSME stock exchange. So they'll be able to get capital from the market easily. Somehow that is still not happening. But as a corollary to this, in 2020, central government came out with the Banking Regulation Act amendment where this provision was already made. Because a lot of things are still required to be done. As I find in terms of structural reforms, there are reforms which are going on, but they are yet to take the shape which is required. For example, the Reserve Bank of India has created umbrella organization, but it is still miles away from providing the capital to the urban cooperative banks for several reasons. Let's not go into those reasons, but then that is one of the areas where they can do. Reserve Bank of India subsequently came out with various products which through which they allowed the urban cooperative banks to raise uh, capital which will be considered into tier 1. For example, non-dividend commitment instrument like either a debt bond or a non-participatory preferences. All these instruments they have created. Yes, but not many banks are successful, barring a few large T4 banks like Shamra or Saraswat. Nobody's that way successful because you need to have that base to be successful in mobilizing capital through these instruments.
Yes.
But over a period of time, this reform will take place. I expect that within a year or two, some guidelines would be issued on these lines, and probably the capital paucity of the urban cooperative banks for growth only. Yeah?
Right.
Because if you look at the Reserve Bank of India's December 25 data on urban cooperative banks, you will find that there are hardly 30 odd banks which are not complying with the capital adequacy norms.
Yes.
It otherwise would mean that almost 96 to 97% of the banks have a capital adequacy.
Yes.
The moment you link this to the regulatory capital on market risk or operation risk, you have issues.
Yeah.
So those gaps, to meet those gaps, Probably the structural reforms are required in terms of linking the urban cooperative banks with the stock exchanges. Maybe an SME exchange that can be created. They can be connected. I mean, if the bank is professionally managed, it can raise, but if it is not, it won't get.
Rightly said. Sir, coming to the next question relating to the capital infusion. So, given the absence of market-driven capital infusion like commercial banks, are UCBs inherently vulnerable in times of stress, or they are vulnerable more as compared to the commercial banks?
Uh, Certainly, yes, they are indeed vulnerable, uh, but not necessarily weak as such. They are vulnerable. I can quote one example which will uh, help the viewers of this particular podcast to understand. For example, in the recent Iran war, US-Iran, Israel's war, what has happened? Yields have spiked up.
Right.
And because of the spiking of the yield, the mark-to-market losses of urban cooperative banks have shot up substantially. All these banks are waiting for Reserve Bank of India to grant them some relief. That is not happening.
Yes.
For commercial banks, they have absorbed.
Right.
They have built that capacity.
Right.
Because Treasury is one such thing where there is weakness with urban cooperatives. Barring few big banks, there is still a weakness. But then the window has been provided by Reserve Bank of India to these banks. Like Reserve Bank of India doesn't expect that the urban cooperative bank should be trading in securities. So what they have done for urban cooperative banks, they have given a full cover of 25% SLR they can park in STM, whereas the market risk is eliminated. But then there are some banks which ignore this, pull some portfolio in some different categories like AFS or HFT, and then they face such accidents. Ideally, to say, I mean, if you remember, there was one governor, Dr. Y.V. Reddy, way back in, I believe it was 2010, 9 or 10, something like that. Or even prior to that. I'm not really sure about the time when he was the governor. तो उनको है ना, I mean, there was one nomenclature that was used. That was what? Dr. Reddy साहब मंदी के बादशाह हैं. So what it would mean that he wouldn't allow the banks, forget about corporate banks to make profits out of treasury. Because treasury is not really a banking business.
Banking business, yes, right.
Since that is not being a banking business, he was of the fundamental principle that you should make profit out of your core banking business, acceptance of deposits for the purpose of lending. There it indeed. Now, you coming to your question, facing the stress, I feel that there are many cooperative banks which carry a very healthy capital adequacy ratio. There is a secondary meaning to it. If a bank is having a CRAR, say 20% and above, it would mean that they are not utilizing their reserves in business. So that is also a negative aspect that is being seen in that fashion. Banks which are on the borderline are always vulnerable because if mark-to-market losses are hit, you take a dent not only on profitability but also on CRAR. So it's a mixed bag. If you ask me whether they are vulnerable in times of stress, for well-managed bank, the stress is lower. It exists. Poorly managed, it is huge. Well-managed banks are in a position to maneuver through the stress. Not every bank is in a position to do that.
Right. Right. Sir, how you see the debate between mutuality and the need of external capital evolving in the next decade?
When you go into the next decade, I observe that the mutuality would migrate to a regulated mutuality. So the role of regulation is changing very rapidly. Ownership will remain member driven for the simple reason you have the fundamental laws.
Yes.
For multi-state, you have multi-state cooperative act. For the state cooperative banks, you have respective state acts. They are on similar panel, on par virtually. All states have cooperative act, which is on panel. Recently, Maharashtra government came out with a committee which will review the state law. My fundamental observation is that the cooperative law for the banking should be separate. Because there are several provisions in the state cooperative law which get mixed up.
Right.
And at times is not applicable to the urban cooperative banks. And therefore, what I find is that the regulated mutuality will remain for one more reason. Reserve Bank of India has come out with one restriction which normally banks are required to comply, and in fact, the Reserve Bank of India has punished the banks. Uh, the types of membership are of two types. One is regular membership, the other is nominal. Reserve Bank of India says that your nominal membership cannot exceed more than 20% of your regular membership. So they have a built-in control for membership. The moment you have built-in control for membership, automatically you have control over the capital raising ability as well.
Right.
So this is how I see it. But the regulator, मैं कई बार ये कहता हूँ कि तुम एज अ कोऑपरेटिव बैंक कितनी लंबी छलांग लगा सकते हो, हाउ लॉन्ग यू कैन जंप,
Right.
that is determined by Reserve Bank of
Reserve
India.
Bank of India.
You cannot decide.
Right.
So that being the fact, this is how I see the mutuality aspect of impacting the sector.
Yes. So you rightly said the word regulated membership. So that will be a key factor for the next decade.
Yeah.
So when we observe many UCBs, there are governance failures. So as per your idea, what exactly a governance failure is in a UCB? So it is an external factor or it's an internal one more affecting that UCB?
To my mind, the governance factor has more to do with the internal factors. Market forces have rarely brought down the bank rather than urban cooperative bank in the country. It's always the governance failures that has impacted. You look for the history of failure of urban cooperative banks, you will always find the reasons which are internal. Reasons on the border of governance failure. For example, there is connected lending, relatives lending, poor internal controls, NPA identify नहीं करना, postpone करना, under provisioning करना, all these aspects are failure of the governance. So I find that governance is virtually a multiplier of all the risk. If it is not good, you are facing stress.
Stress, right.
And therefore, for the past 3 years, Reserve Bank of India, when Shaktikanta Das was the governor, he himself took the baton and he visited almost 3 or 4 major states in the country, met all the chairmen and CEOs of urban cooperative banks to impress upon them the importance of governance and risk management.
Right.
So this is how Reserve Bank of India also sees that almost every bank failure is linked to the governance failure.
Yes, so rightly said, because it is more internally that is affecting the governance thing. Sir, just an extension to this question, mostly UCBs, when we say there is a governance failure, there is more of a political interruption in the UCB. So how you see this aspect with relation to the governance failure?
Political interference, wherever it exists, it's profound. Wherever it exists, it's absolutely profound. Political interference per se, or the politics part of it per se, doesn't affect the bank in that long. What affects is, it hags your vision in the sense that the objective risk filters are eliminated whenever there is political interference. When I say objective risk interference, it could mean that there are problems in HR, there are problems in declaration of NPA, the problem of granting loan despite it is not complying with the norms, so many factors where the political interference comes up. This relationship has caused a lot of damage in the urban cooperative banking sector. But wherever the politicians have now realized things are better, things are improving, the politicians are moving away. In fact, if you are an MLA, you cannot be a director on the board. That is how the things have changed. It was not there earlier.
Yes.
But things are changing and the politicians will move away from the urban cooperative banking industry in the similar fashion to ensure that banking should be done the way banking is done.
Right. Very well said. So, as we move on to the another factor, that is professionalism. So every bank requires an adequate professionals to handle the business. So what do you think that whether professionalism is just a checkbox in UCB or it's a reality happening on the ground?
I'll take you back to 2003. 2003, there was a major cooperative bank failure in Gujarat. I'll take a name also, Madhupura. Madhupura bank failure happened in 2003, and it was for the first time Reserve Bank of India insisted on all primary urban cooperative banks that you must at least have 2 professional directors. There was a lot of ho-halla. Almost every bank said, or the smaller UCBs in the village areas or official township, they all started crying that we will not get chartered accountants, we will not get professionals either to be co-opted or to be elected because we do not have people. After 2 years, when Reserve Bank of India published its report, 99.99% banks had professional titles. Why I told you this story is it was virtually a tick box method. So professionals were imported, they were placed.
Right.
The professionalism problems then existed, still exist today. Because there are huge barriers in the प्रोफेशनल डायरेक्टर प्रोफेशनल बंदा आ भी गया ना बोर्ड में, उसको डेलीगेशन नहीं होता है, उसके कॉम्पेंसेशन का प्रॉब्लम होता है. अगर कोई भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट मान के चलो कि 4 घंटा दे रहा है, देयर इज अ कॉस्ट टू इट.
Yes.
हाउ मेनी ऑफ देम आर रियली विलिंग टू डू दैट? सो दे जस्ट गो अटेंड द मास्टर, गो बैक एंड डू देयर वर्क. And then there is limited talent in pipeline. Suppose there is a chartered accountant who is a tax practitioner, nothing to do with banking, but he's on the board. How is he going to contribute?
Contribute, right?
But then you are complying with the Reserve Bank of India norms. So complying with the norms is nothing but ticking.
Right.
So unless the professionals are given freedom of expression,
Right.
I'm using the word very carefully. If the professionals are not given the freedom of expression, things won't work. To mitigate the problem, in 2018, Reserve Bank of India came out with a different guideline. कि यार ये प्रोफेशनल का जो कंडीशन है इससे बैंक हमको उल्लू बना रहा है. So they came out with the concept of board of management.
Yes.
And they said that board of management should also have professionals, outsiders. It should be member but should not be directors. And then 2 of the internal professionals that you can depute. Even for the board of management for the past 4 or 5 years, which is happening, is copy pasting of board function. I mean, this is how I observe the board of management. I mean, this cannot be applied to all the banks, but then the banks which are good, and I have always advocated board of management for the simple reason I perceive that board of management is the insurance for the board of directors.
Very.
Now, if you see this as an insurance, the board of directors will accept. Unless board of management recommends a proposal, a credit proposal, board of directors will not grant.
Right.
If the board of management has not recommended and board of directors wants to do, the onus is on the board of directors to substantiate why they still want to grant. And then what happens is that board of management typically is influenced by the insiders. So the outsider who comes up who says, मेरा तो involvement board of management तक है, इनको बैंक चलाना, इनको देखने दो. So many a times their opinions are not recorded. Many banks you will find, I mean this I have been talking to many banks. If there are 15 people in the board and say 7 people in the board of management, there would be dissenting opinions. For any purpose, for any cause or for any subject, the dissenting opinion is required to be recorded. So Reserve Bank, whenever Reserve Bank of India inspector visits the bank, he says, यार सबके सब accept कैसे करते हैं? कोई भी proposal हो, सबका हाँ. Typically in Marathi you say, एक मताने मंजूर. You shift it to बहुमताने मंजूर. You have democracy, just shift it to बहुमताने मंजूर. Record the dissenting opinion. Why? This is healthy in democracy. You need opposition in democracy. Because opposition is required to be respected because they are supposed to point out your errors. You are not supposed to suppress them. Same applies to a democratically principled cooperative bank. But the opposition is required to be respected. I mean, my experience shows that the opposition members are silenced through other means. I'm using a very difficult word. I'm not going to explain this. So when I say this, you have to understand what I'm trying to convey. So still a checkbox, still long way to go before you really improve the things. Still a long way to go.
So coming to the next question, so basically these cooperatives are governed, cooperative banks are governed with the dual regulators. So there are the state government regulators and the RBI. So do you think this dual regulation has affected the accountability, or it is generating the inefficiency in the working of the bank?
To respond to that, I would look back to the VR Act amendment that came into year 2020. The act was notified on 30th of September 2020. It was issued by way of a GR, and then it was passed in the Lok Sabha by in August 2020 and was notified. The moment this act came into place, the idea of dual control does not exist because the state registrar's role is restricted only to the elections. He cannot give you any banking related advisory or circular. There is only one area where registrar still gives. If I look at the Maharashtra, we have a rule 49, the Maharashtra State Cooperative Act. So, if at all you want to say waive interest to a particular borrower for because of his financial conditions, you have to take permission of the statutory auditor and then go to the AGM and then write off.
Right.
For one-time settlement scheme which has been promulgated by the state government, the most important condition in that OTA scheme is that forget about the year why the scheme gets extended, is the exemption under Rule 49. So under OTAs, whatever interest waiver that is given based on certain formula and methods, that board can do.
Right.
So they don't have to go for a OTA settlement, they don't have to go to statutory auditor or to the board. Barring these banking related guidelines, no banking related guideline can be given by the registrar. So to me, the dual control has ceased to exist. It does not exist. It's only the banking that is important and that is being fully now controlled by Reserve Bank of India. To quote a very latest example, I'll tell you, there was a time if administrator is required to be appointed, the Reserve Bank of India used to write to the registrar, and then they used to issue order under section 110A of State Cooperative Act. Now that has become redundant. BR Act has empowered Reserve Bank of India in such a way. The latest example, there are two examples. The board of directors of Abhyuday Bank was replaced without reference to registrar.
Right.
The board of directors of New India Cooperative Bank was replaced without reference to the registrar. Registrar was informed subsequently.
Right.
Because these banks are registered under either multi-state or state cooperative. They were simply informed by Reserve Bank of India. But they are not duty bound to do that. So dual control now doesn't exist. The control is completely with the Reserve Bank of India.
Right. Sir, with private and small finance banks which are aggressively targeting the retail and MSME segments, do you see that UCBs are losing their identity in this entire thing?
To some extent, yes. When I say to some extent, yes, the difference between UCB and small finance bank is small finance banks are well capitalized. They have a better tech leadership. What is the wish on the urban cooperative bank? The local connect and the relationship.
Yes.
These are the two major advantages which the cooperative banks do carry. The personalized banking feel you get from the cooperative banks. Even though there is no personalized banker product like the private sector banking.
Right.
But then every customer of the urban cooperative bank feels that they are being treated personally. This is the differentiator. But if you look at the whether they are losing the identity, not really. They are becoming obsolete. The UCBs are becoming obsolete unless they modernize. They mean they don't have to compete with small finance banks.
Yes.
But unless they ensure that what is in the neighbor's shop is also in my shop,
That's right.
unless they do that, it is difficult for them to grow.
Yes. Yes. Very well, sir. Sir, in this competitive era of banking, even if we can say that growth का तो भूल जाइए, लेकिन even we succeed to maintain the past ratios, that also will be a very good thing for a bank. So in this, how you see the technology affecting the UCBs? Because is this neutralizing the relationship banking of a UCB, or still that difference between technology driven and relationship driven will still persist?
Not fully. I mean, technology will not neutralize the relationship banking. I mean, what technology has done is the technology has simply commoditized the transactions. CBS more or less is a transaction platform.
Right.
It has improved delivery models, or it has multiplied the delivery channels, so to say. Beyond that, the relationship still exists. Well, I find number of cooperative banks where maximum senior citizens bank with them. The logic is they like to visit the bank. Right. Point number one. Point number two is that youngsters don't visit the cooperative banks because they like technology. They don't want to go to bank. Unless this gap is bridged, the youngsters won't come to the bank. But then to say that technology has neutralized urban cooperative banks, no. There are almost over 200 banks which have a fantastic technology. They have all the digital products like mobile banking, internet banking, you name it. They are all there. They have their own apps. But then it is only for the select areas, select geographical or command area for their customers that they should not move to the other banks and all that. I mean, the products are given. And in fact, I'll tell you, for the technology products which the urban cooperative banks have launched, if they do the independent analysis of the investment they have made and the payback period, if that is required to be computed, it will be adverse. For example, you invest so much in internet banking and cybersecurity,
Right.
and the volume that you carry,
Yes, it's very.
and the revenue that you generate is negligible. But if they don't do it, they won't survive because the existing customers would migrate. It is more of a customer retention technique or mechanism. So it has not neutralized. Relationship banking still holds good, and that's how the Australian and New Zealand banks are migrating. They have technology, but they have dedicated products or the relationship bank. Same stories with Europe.
Right.
They have lot of relationship bankers who come to you. It's only in India where very recently the concept of doorstep banking has come. It was not there. It is hardly 3 or 4 years ago. It was being done without any regulatory formal framework.
yes.
It was being done. But now there is a formal framework. With the formal framework, not many banks are adopting it.
Right.
That is the irony of the ruling given by Reserve Bank. But that's how the technology is required to be used.
Yes, yes. Sir, considering the expansion aspect, do you see consolidation is inevitable for, or it is inevitable for survival of the small banks? Because nowadays RBI is insisting the large banks also, larger UCBs, to get the small banks into them instead of opening a new branch. So with this aspect, does this mean that the consolidation process will be inevitable for the small banks in the coming future?
There are two answers. One is not necessarily. The second is yes. When I say second is yes, why I'll tell you. The regulation is becoming stringent. And recently on 28th of November, Reserve Bank of India came out with some 26, 27 master directions. If you look at the number of pages are running into 31,376.
Right.
For a unit bank or for a small bank with 2 branches, who is going to read the 1,376 pages is the first fundamental question.
Right.
Secondly, the smaller or unit banks will find it difficult to survive in the future. As long as they are good, they should think for a better exit or they should grow. Either of these choice. You should have geographical expansion. You should also ensure that your business grows. So you become invincible if you grow. Now, if you don't grow, you remain small. You are always a target, whether you're good or bad.
Right.
If you're bad, you'll be arm twisted too much.
Right.
If you're good, then you will be persuaded to merger. Now, when I was in 12th standard, there was one subject, Organization of Commerce, and there was one chapter in that subject that was about the Reserve Bank of India, the functions of Reserve Bank of India. One of the function in that, I'm talking of 77 70, one of the function which I have learned then, and still I remember, was moral persuasion. Now that moral persuasion is nothing but picking up a danda and telling them do this. But I theoretically, morally convince them to get yourself merged. So consolidation is possible. The phase has come. Reserve Bank of India has brought down the number from 2,200 to 1,430
Right.
in the past 15 or 16 years. Possibly there is further closure of around, or merger, we should say, not closure, of around 300 to 400 banks. The ideal number, which Reserve Bank of India will never say this, the ideal number is below 1,000 banks. Below 1,000 banks they should be required. And here is the international cooperative year, and we are celebrating that. But then the irony for India is that you got 28 states. It's only in 3 states you have the sector.
Yes.
So rest of the 25 sectors should put hai.
Yes.
In Madhya Pradesh you got 40 odd banks, Rajasthan you got 40 odd banks, Andhra you got 70 odd,
Right.
Tamil Nadu you got 70 odd. Tamil Nadu is a funny thing. Why I'll tell you it is funny. There are cooperative banks, some 60 odd cooperative banks, but they are managed by the registrars. So the election takes place, chairman says, CEO says, but the decisions are taken by air. Similar is the story with West Bengal. Assam has a very good cooperative, although number is very small, some 11, 12 banks. Punjab, UP, Bihar, I mean, not to say much about it. Kerala, there were good banks, but they did a lot of nasty things. It is not good for me to talk on a public forum. But then Karnataka, Gujarat, and Maharashtra. Maharashtra is the number one with some 430 odd banks, and followed by Karnataka, some 270 odd.
Yeah.
And then Gujarat, around 240, something like that. Number of banks have come down from each of the sector, for the simple reason that the question which I responded, why the banks are coming down, governance. That is what has plagued them. Unless they pull up their socks, things are going to be difficult.
Difficult.
And when I say consolidation is inevitable, I say yes. And second is not necessary. If you are good,
You
even
can
if you are single unit man, you can stand.
Right.
You should have good parameters, good banking practices.
Right.
It's not that difficult. I mean, if you look at that, the scale does matter.
Right.
But then other than scale, discipline, business is equally important.
Yes. Sir, very well said, sir. Because discipline banking is very important.
Very.
Yeah. So coming to again the technology aspect, is technology adoption in UCB is driven by strategy or regulatory compulsion? So are they seeing it as a to comply, so we are adopting, or is there any specific strategy कि boss हमें grow करना है, so we are there?
I'll tell you, I'll take you back to little back because I'm trying to do that so that to give you a complete perspective, even to the viewers of your channel. It was in 2005. Reserve Bank of India is the one who handles the clearing. Now RBI doesn't handle it; is done by MPCI.
Right.
So when Reserve Bank of India was handling the clearing, I was not CEO or MD. I was AGM वगैरह रहेगा मैं. So Reserve Bank of India started asking question in 2005. Are you going to do CBS? It was 2005. It was tough for us to answer because we only had the TBA. What is the TBA? Total Banking Automation. Yeah, it was there.
Yes.
Consolidation was not there.
Right.
Also, several things came subsequently. 2008, Reserve Bank of India wrote first communication to the banks, those who were participating in the Bombay clearing then, kindly give us your plan of CBS, core banking solution. All banks had tough time to give that. Reserve Bank of India gave the very long rope to the banks. It was in 2013, December 2013. December 2013 was the deadline. The circular came in the month of what, March or April 2013, where RBI said that, look, buddy, you are a cooperative bank, you must have CBS by December 2013. That was a danda that they used. So everybody went on to become, went on to implement the CBS. Irony of CBS then was that there were 200 odd CBS providing companies. And there were some companies with individual names. They're still there. Mr. Gadgil, CBS company, he provided CBS to some 10 banks. So everybody who knew Fox Pro or some such thing, they created a CBS and gave. Without any security features, nothing was there. No bad sealing idea, nothing was there. It was gradually, the journey of foolproof CBS became subsequently. So yes, the banks did not go for CBS strategically. They went for TBS methods. The sad part today is that banks have CBS, but the CBS is not delivering what it should deliver. In the sense that you have high-end technology, but you are still doing brick and mortar banking. The idea of CBS was that you should be in a position to implement a single window system. एक ही बंदा सेविंग भी करेगा, करंट अकाउंट भी खोलेगा, टर्म डिपॉजिट भी खोलेगा, लोन भी देगा. That was the beauty of CBS. You go to any branch, you will find saving counter, you will find current account counter, term deposit counter. You still continue to do that brick and mortar banking because that is the convenience of the customer also. And the time taken. But then I always used to imagine, ये 10 बंदे ब्रांच में काम कर रहे करने दो उनको, लेकिन सबको सबका काम करने दो. So you improve the efficiency of everyone. Everyone knows every other product. Right. That never happened. It was, people used to call me too idealistic. So it is not possible. But then it was regulatory. The technology adoption was regulatory. It is yet to become strategic. The banks are moving towards API, AI, all these things are happening. Banks are still taking their time. They don't realize that AI is going to displace 25% of their workforce. Despite the fact that the Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank of India came out with a resolution on AI, AI typically should be used only for the routine mentoring. Right. It should not be used for policy making, decision making, and all that. And the people in banking today are using the open AI for getting the draft of their policies. Now, getting the draft of their policy, you use ChatGPT or Perplexity, whatever you use, there is no issue. Right. लेकिन उसमें उसके जो सिग्नल्स आते हैं, सिम्टम्स आते हैं, लैंग्वेज के सिम्टम्स है, एंड देयर आर वेरियस डिजाइन व्हिच दिस ChatGPT or Perplexity or deep search or Anthropic they are giving, you at least correct them. Right. And then there is a typical language. If you send me a document created out of ChatGPT, I'm in a position to understand that this is ChatGPT creation. No, that has to be used brilliantly. Use that only to guide you. Right. And then do it on your own. So, I still feel that the strategies for technology are still missing. And then after CBS, what happened is this. None of the banks which implemented the CBS, including the bigger banks, did not go for data cleansing.
That was the biggest mistake.
Yeah, so typically what has happened is that garbage in, garbage out. That principle still lives. Now, if you do not have data cleansing, one of the queries recently that came to me was, sir, we got 10,000 accounts with zero balance. Should we close them? So, 10,000 account with zero balance. I said there is no regulatory guideline on closing of zero balance account. In fact, Reserve Bank of India says you revive him.
Right.
So what you need to, I give him a complete write-up. What he should do? He should give a notice. He should give SMS. Give 3 notice, and then if there is no response, create a record and then close. This is the typical method.
Yes.
So the CBS is still not being used for the technical reason. All these technologies keep on talking about the business process re-engineering. None of the bank did that. I was with Tane Janata and we had the then general manager Satish Utekar. I mean, I give you full credit for innovative concepts in banking. Also, what he did, he was the first fellow in Urban Cooperative Bank to think of business process re-engineering. So Thane Janata to me was the first bank to re-engineer its processes when it adopted CBS, not many of the banks have done it. I learned a lot of things there. But then it always boils down to the leader who is taking those clues and doing things in the right perspective and in the right manner.
Right.
So even today, it is not strategic because we are not working on data. We are not working on data cleansing. We do not have a data analytics officer.
Right.
None of the bank is having that. We are going to face huge difficulties when DPTP comes into play next year.
Yes.
No bank is working on that.
Writing on that.
But that is going to kill you because the penalty prescribed is 250 crores.
Right.
So what the hell you are doing? You are running a bank. So there is no preparedness. It's unfortunate. But then this is the reality of the sector where the technology is not strategic. I mean, some of your viewers may not agree with me because there are some of the banks which are doing it fantastically. They are doing a fantastic job. They are working whole hard on that.
Right.
But then I'll tell you what, many of the banks have purchased CBS worth 25 crores, 30 crores, and that is still being used as a transactioning platform. So the bank has to think by spending 25 crores, what bank has gained?
Weird.
Whether all other solutions, whether it can handle several other things, data related things, all those things. And all these vendors don't tell you to do the data cleansing before implementation because their intention is on the purchase order.
Sir, as you rightly said that this new laws relating to the digital privacy and digital data protection is coming. So basically coming on to that aspect also. So when we are adopting the technology as a UCB, as we said, it is only a part of a regulatory compulsion. Then are we more prone to cyber threats and the other risk also? Because we are adopting technology, but if that is not at the fuller extent, then it might, raise the risk of your this idea.
It's a very serious risk. The smaller banks with weaker IT governance, they face disproportionate risk. A bank like Cosmos, if it can lose 120 crores, so let's not talk of others. I always find that typically in banks there is still an assumption that cybersecurity is an IT issue. It is not. It is enterprise risk. If you view that as an enterprise risk,
Right.
you are your board oversight comes automatically, and then you are in the position to find better solutions.
Right.
For resilience, I believe that they need to do regular training, insulations, weather due diligence. Several things are there which can be done. But then cybersecurity threat, yes, it's real. I mean, when I was CEO or MD of a bank, we used to conduct a phishing test every 6 months. And we always used to get at least 20% of the employees getting trapped.
Fair.
But despite education and training and consistent training, you don't click the unknown link.
Yes.
Simple there. But still, still, I mean, the spoofing and all these things still happen. People don't realize that they are putting the bank's life into a serious threat.
Seriously, yes. So, can UCB realistically compete in digital payments and fintech collaborations, or will they remain in the peripheral uh, part only?
They can collaborate. A question of competence doesn't arise because UCBs are not meant to be fintechs, number one. Number two is that many banks invested in IT and they are not in a position to decide what this IT guy is doing.
Yes.
They have a huge team of IT.
Yes.
Now, with the technology that has come today, you don't need IT guys then. Earlier, what used to happen with deficiencies in CBS, you needed an IT person who would solve the problem.
Yes.
I mean, I still remember that branch में printer बंद पड़ गया तो IT को बोल रहा. The idea was that अगर वो printer का बटन तो ऑन कर. I mean, it was that kind of.
That kind of.
वो printer है मतलब ये IT का काम.
IT का.
Otherwise, unless that orientation happens, we have threats, we have serious risks, and every bank must be willing to do that. Reserve Bank of India and the finance ministry. Nirmala Sitharaman called all the chairpersons of all the public sector banks very recently, last week only, with the hint that you better beware of the anthropic mythos. Why? Because it had the capability of identifying the bugs in your software.
Right.
How many CBS vendors are using anthropic mythos to identify the bugs? Now, there is a third person vendor. I mean, there is always a possibility of somebody entering your network, despite conducting VAPT.
Yes.
That is quite likely to happen.
Yeah.
Are we seriously doing that? Answer is no. Why Nirmala Sitharaman was worried? The only thing is that there is open AI source and Anthropic huge competition. Trillions of dollars are involved. Both these guys are out to kill each other. Thankfully, ChatGPT globally is with the individual consumers. Anthropic is with typically commercial establishments. So that difference still remains. But then it is going, I mean, it has already created a different kind of risk. I mean, there are many people who are advising that we should use the OpenAI for generate routine statements. It's quite possible.
Yes.
Or evaluate the Excel sheets which are being created through our system. So that is a limited use. You cannot use them for policy drafting, policy guidance. That should still remain with the individuals who think. The most dangerous point which I find is that the Indian IT sector is facing the existential trend because of these developments. When that happens, all these big daddies who have given you software, what they are going to do, what you are going to do.
Sorry. Sir, is physical branch expansion still a viable strategy for UCB, or does it erode profitability in the digital era? So whether
I'll tell you, typically a couple of years ago, a CEO typical will always used to think for vanity growth. Even I used to think like that. Either branch खोलना है, either branch खोलना है, उधर.
yes.
It should be driven by economics
Uh,
or a strategic decision. I'll quote my own example. The bank where I was, we opened the branch at Appa Barman Chowk. We opened the branch in Pune at Appa Barman Chowk where there were 8 cooperative banks. We failed
yeah.
because we were not the locals.
Locals. Yes.
So people couldn't trust us. Eventually, that branch got merged. Earlier, that was required to be merged. But then the strategic thinking was not done. It was for vanity. So the moment you do branch expansion with vanity, without strategic interest, without the economies being drawn, without the projections that being taken up, never do that. So the branch expansion is a very careful thought over operation. You want to grow. I'll tell you simple example. I used to work at Kalyan, and the population of Kalyan was around 24 lakhs. Our customer base was around 6 lakhs. Correct. So I always used to think that there are still 18 lakh people who are not banking with me. So let's capture them instead of this branch expense.
So it's expensive.
But somehow the decision makers in my bank did not like the idea. They said, no, we want to grow. Opening the branch is not growth.
Yes.
Opening a branch is a cost.
Cost.
Unless there is a revenue model built in,
Built in.
there is no point.
So very rightly say it is a cost more than it's a.
Yeah.
So coming to the extension of this question, many UCBs expand geographically without strengthening their core systems. So just with a intention of becoming a multi-state, or maybe not multi-state but geographically they want to expand, but are they concentrating on their core strengths? So
They don't. Most of the time, they don't. There are very few and far between examples where a proper study is done for growth, whether it is multi-state or otherwise. Typically, a latent advantage of becoming a multi-status is to get rid of the local registrar. That was the idea. And get several rights under multi-state where you can write off and all those things that happen. So that I can understand. But unless it is linked with your business strategy, it is pointless in futile. Because end of the day, what the member wants you to pay dividend regularly. Simple.
So coming to the cost aspect of a UCB, what is the biggest blind spot you see? Whether it's a HR cost, branch overhead, or inefficiency in operations?
Huge. Operational inefficiency is a huge thing because that is immeasurable. You cannot see it in terms of numbers. You can watch it,
Right.
but you can do nothing good because the legal system is our legal system after 75 or 80 years also is still weak. Still weak. When I say it is weak, it requires reforms is fine. I mean, there are other areas where the government and the Reserve Bank of India can undertake reforms. This is not a bank, urban cooperative bank in the country where they do the cost analysis of their services. So recently, Reserve Bank of India came out with a master guidelines of 20th November. Fantastic guideline. This one you will conduct a business. So what I saying, you cannot charge more than the cost that you are incurring. Now, if I am charging, say, 2 rupees for a passbook printing,
Right.
I need to evaluate my cost.
My God.
If my cost is 50 paise, I cannot charge 2 a piece. No bank has done. But then, come this year, post this June, RBI inspection will start. And the urban cooperative banks are going to face a lot of difficulties because all these guidelines, whether implemented or not, if you reduce a service charge, or if you increase a service charge, you must have estimates of cost first. And then operational efficiency is one such thing. There are no metrics provided.
Right.
Now, the moment there are no metrics provided, you can do a lot of tom-tom. For example, there was a fad a couple of years ago that you get loan in 90 minutes, you get loan in 60 minutes. A fad.
Yes.
Because all this 60-minute Jula was like this. Loan is sanctioned,
Yes.
subject to terms and conditions. So you keep on complying with the terms and conditions, and then it's so these are the tricks of the trade. For example, you want to attract deposits at the rate of 8%. Okay, you write one simple word in the bracket against the interest. Simple.
Right.
9% simple. Factor it will come to around some 8% or something like that. So this is how the things are happening, and Reserve Bank of India precisely doesn't want the urban corporate banks to do this. There are many banks in the commercial segment also, even public sector banks, which have been penalized the Reserve Bank of India for these malpractices. So if you look at the cost, operational efficiency, and that's where the risk resilience measurement exercise, which every bank must do.
Right.
The gap analysis is must only for that reason.
So, sir, coming to the another aspect of banking, that is treasury operations, do you see that UCBs are often opting for the conservative strategy, and because of that they are losing the profit opportunities, or this is important for safeguarding their existence or survival?
Typically, the urban cooperative banks do not have the skill set to manage the treasury, to be very honest. When you do not have a skill set to manage the treasury, it's like that if you are a middle order batsman, you cannot go and open the innings.
Right.
Because opening the inning is a different skill set. Likewise, here, if you do not have skill set, you try to be conservative. Like you put all your portfolio to HTM and insulate yourself from the mark to market one. This you by doing this you miss the opportunities. Placement of securities in any of the buckets is always a function of ALM. The urban cooperative banks do not pay much attention to ALM. It is extremely necessary that they should do that. If you have little experience and knowledge of treasury, the movements of yield and all those things, or the duration analysis, all those things, if you are aware, you can make good profit. But typically, as I was talking before this podcast, that Reserve Bank of India really doesn't like the urban cooperative banks or any bank for that matter making money out of treasury operations. Yeah, that is not your core banking function.
Right.
There has been a lot of dispute on treasury profit with income tax authorities also, and they have always claimed that this is not your banking profit. So, of course, the cases are going on. I do not know when the decision will come. But then, if you are conservative in treasury, you are trying to safeguard your bank from the hazards of liquidity oscillation. To me, for the 900 banks which are in T1 and T2, they should be conservative. For T3 and T4, they should adopt or have or acquire or recruit appropriate skills to manage treasury because the volume is bigger.
Bigger. Yes. So, coming to the next aspect of treasury management, that is interest rate volatility. So, how equipped are UCBs to manage this specific interest rate volatility and the impact of that shock as compared to the commercial banks?
Smaller banks are extremely vulnerable because they don't understand this.
Right.
For bigger banks, they have people who understand ALM. Converting ALM into a policy decision making is an issue.
Right.
Now, liquidity stress you can manage very easily because you are in a position to move amongst the bucket. Typically, the banking business is with ALM mismatches. Reserve Bank of India says that mismatches is like making profit. If you have mismatch, you will make profit. If you don't have mismatch, you can never make profit. Now, that mismatch has to be within tolerance limit. And the tolerance limit is required to be managed and every bank has to decide. Normally, in the first bucket, if your tolerance limit is up to 20%, that is manageable. If it is 40%, then you have to give a submission to Reserve Bank of India, how you will manage that. What I personally find is that all these ALM guidelines itself have a lot of drawbacks. One of the drawback is that I am not in a position to control my liabilities because the person always comes for a shorter duration.
Right.
If I come out with a scheme of 10 years deposit, nobody will get money.
Right.
And therefore, banks find it difficult for long-term subordinated debt. The subscription doesn't come easily.
Right.
The term is very long.
Longer.
But the loans are longer. You have a housing loan which runs into 18 years, 20 years, whatever it is. So the mismatch will remain. What the way into this is that how you evaluate your behavioral pattern. No bank does it. But for example, you have a behavioral profile where 90% of your matured default deposits get renewed or get reinvested.
Yes.
That's the trend that is analyzed. You are in a position to manage your ALM better. Banks are not doing it. It's required to be done. That behavioral study and scenario analysis, what if scenario analysis, not many banks are doing it. The banks which are doing it are better off. So, liquidity stress is manageable. Interest rate होगा देखेंगे क्या होगा. There is no solution with these smaller banks.
Yes.
And there is no point in giving them costly solutions because they can't afford it. Yeah.
Yes. So, the last part, do you believe that treasury mismanagement has been an under-discussed factor in UCB failures? And if yes, where does the real problem lies? So, skills, system, or oversight?
All three. While you want skills, I spoke just now about the skills.
Yes.
Oversight, how many board members understand what is happening in treasury?
Right.
How many people really understand the difference between yield curve? How many people understand Macaulay's duration or convexity of duration? Nobody. Value at risk, nobody understands.
Right.
This is the story of even bigger banks. Let's keep it aside there. So normally discussion कहाँ पे होता है? The subject which I understand. So if there is a subject of giving advertisement or donation to somebody or someone, every board member will discuss. Why? I understand.
Right.
My dealer or my treasury head talks about the market situation. Everybody is dozing off or yawning.
Right.
Why it happens? Because they don't understand. It is not their fault.
Right.
They are not bankers. They come from common walk of life. It is not their life. I mean, it's not their cup of tea also. It is precisely for this reason, all the three reasons I said, simply because all the three reasons are contributing where treasury is not discussed. As a result, the treasury guy is always a king because he manages 1/3 of your balance sheet.
Right.
वो जो बोलता है वही होता है. So, as a CEO, as a MD, other MD, you must understand what is happening in treasury, what is happening in the market, how the yields are moving, what position dealer has taken, whether he is following the stop loss limit. There is a bank which kept the stop loss limit at 8%. You can't do that. And fortunately, none of the Reserve Bank of India inspector objected to it. When the policy came to me for discussion and review, I said, what the bullshit you are doing? The stop loss limit should max be 1.5%. It cannot be more than that. 8%. क्योंकि डीलर को सोना था 8% रहेगा तो ट्रिगर आते तक बेटर रहेगा. So, for the lack of knowledge, it is always an under discussed subject. It is necessary that we talk of IT. We should have a person who understands IT on the board. We should have a person who understands the treasury. But that stipulation Reserve Bank of India is not brought in. But as a banker, I feel that all the members of the board should ensure that they have a person who understands the language of the treasury head who is reporting to them.
Right.
There is a 6 monthly report which every board
yeah.
nobody sees.
Right.
Okay, Purta Vishay, yeah. I mean, that's how it happens.
Right. So, this is the reality.
Yeah.
And no one wants to take action on that because the subject is difficult.
Yeah.
So certain other questions are also in my mind which are a little bit, which are not discussed openly, or I can say less discussed. So the first question I'm coming to that is, are the depositors in the UCBs adequately protected, or there is an uncomfortable truth in the system that avoids acknowledging?
Depositors are protected to a certain extent. You have DICC insurance which started with 20,000 rupees way back in 68. It is now 5 lakhs. Even for those 5 lakhs, you have an option. You have two persons, one is A, the other is B. You can give 5 lakhs in A's name, 5 lakhs in B's name, and then AB and BA that the SEC Act allows. So technically, 20 lakhs if you keep total deposit, saving term or whatever, is duly protected. Reserve Bank of India keep on saying that 98% of the depositors are protected. But is it the balance sheet like this of the other cooperative bank? It is not. And then rest of the depositor, when banks goes into the liquidation, unless liquidator sells off the assets,
Right.
the pro rata basis income doesn't come, and by the time the depositor is off, you don't get money. I mean, that's the story.
That is
Despite there is a restriction that within 10 years the liquidator has to dispose of the asset. That doesn't happen. But with the recent amendment in January, where the deposit insurance has, Reserve Bank of India has migrated the deposit insurance to the risk-based premium. Although the normal customer will never come to know. But more efficiently managed bank will pay lower premium. Almost a discount of 33%.
Yes.
25% of what that. There is one discount on 25% on year. Certain number of years, there is not virgin. There is a word I am not in a position to recollect. There are two discounts. So normally the 12 paisa per 100 premium would come down to roughly around 8 paisa or 6 paisa.
6 paisa.
Customer will not come to know. Reserve Bank of India will come to know. What premium, wherever your Camel's rating and all other ratings are assessed and your rating is low, you pay 12% card rate. And if your rating is good, you pay lower. So the moment your profitability goes up, what the customer should see, comparative DICC insurance for the last year compared to the total deposits and the insurance premium paid this year. If it is similar, it would mean that your bank is at 12%. It would mean that you are either in B or C. You are not A graded. As long as you are paying dividend, members don't. I mean, typically, I'll tell you, on an average, the bank's balance sheet is read by Reserve Bank of India more vigorously than by the members. So members really don't read. They need to read this. कि मेरे बैंक की तबीयत क्या है. So deposits are adequately protected that way. You don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
That is the clue.
Yeah. So, is the cooperative banking model today, in its current form, fundamentally broken or just poorly executed?
Poorly executed. It's not broken, it's good, but it's very poorly executed. The model remains good. The issue is with the governance. Issue is that of a governance, and the weakness lies in the implementation of the architecture. So with that issue, I feel that I have always believed that if regulation is solving all your governance issues, everybody would be fantastic. That doesn't happen. That we have to understand that. And therefore, there is a recent shift. There was a ET news that Reserve Bank of India will not punish the urban cooperative banks or banking industry. They will insist on more guidance, involvement, like the 12th standard chapter, moral persuasion. That is good, but then culture is very important. Culture department determines your outcome.
Right.
So the rules only create the boundaries, and how I find is that the regulation will never be adequate.
You're right.
The more you crave for regulation, the more you make it, to call it politically, more fascist. So that doesn't help. In a democracy, fascist regulation won't help. Yeah.
Sir, do you believe that some UCBs survive today more due to regulatory forbearance than actual financial strength?
Yeah, there are some cases. I should not quote those cases. I know those cases of forbearances, but it has to be reasonable. If the forbearance is beyond boundaries, beyond limits, you will never get to know the reality. If you really want to know the reality, the forbearance has to stop at a particular. That red line has to be drawn by the regulator. If it is drawn, forbearance is good because you need to give. जैसे वो फांसी देने वाले बंदे को भी पूछते थे कि आखिरी check करा. So the forbearance has to have its limits.
Right. Sir, 10 years from now, will UCB remain relevant as a financial institution or become a legacy segment gradually fading out?
It will remain relevant. The number will come down, but it's only the stronger who will survive. Or the specialized kind of business model will always survive. I see the shift. What is happening in the past 3 or 4 years? Reserve Bank of India is telling the urban cooperative banks softly, give me your business model. The urban cooperative banks are high and dry. They were given thought to it. अरे मेरा business model क्या है? मैं तो deposit लेता हूँ, कर्जा देता हूँ. That's not the business model. Right. Business model is a strategy as to how you will grow either in liability or in assets.
Right.
Now, the banks which are doing it, they will remain more relevant. They will have a stronger feature. They will, of course, be a very strong bank. And then there will be substantial consolidation. Weeding out of the bad elements is going to happen. डंडे तो चलने वाले हैं. If you don't improve, I mean, typically the problem with the Reserve Bank of India is that out of 1,430 banks, it's only 30 or 30 odd banks do not have adequate CRA. The rest of them are having. But they still have a problem with this 10-year issue.
Right.
Now, this is a governance problem. The people are not understanding. हमने इस बैंक को खड़ा किया है, हम इसको जिंदगी भर संभालेंगे. ऐसा नहीं होता है बॉस. It doesn't happen like this.
Right.
The people are yet to digest.
Right.
I mean, despite the fact that the regulation under 35, section 35, 35A and section 46, 47 and 56 cannot be opened in any court. No court in India can challenge the Reserve Bank of India on the directions issued under these sections.
Yes.
Despite this, our federations and associations are moving the court. वो किसको पैसा खिला रहे हैं? वो वकील को. They went to Calcutta High Court, they lost.
Yes.
They went to Bombay bench in Korapur, they lost. Because this bench knew what the Calcutta court did. They have moved against the Banking Regulation Act with Chennai court. It will take 10 years before the entire validity of the act will be heard by the Chennai court. Because Chennai court has typically the limitations of the number of benches. तो 10 साल लगेंगे फर्स्ट हियरिंग को, नोटिस इशू होने को. तो तब तक तो सब भूल गए होंगे कि ये भी क्या करना है.
So, what do you think the consolidation is a solution or just a way of postponing deeper structural problems?
I consider it as a mechanism to save the depositors. It's not a cure. Consolidation has to happen wherever depositor interest is required to be protected, as long as the loss is limited. I saw a bank which had a fraud of around 40-50 crores. No bigger bank took interest. Why? They had some 10 batches. 50 crore loss. It would mean that the costs per branch license is 5 crores. Here is the Reserve Bank of India which is going to give me free licenses.
Right.
Why I should go? It's only the arm twisting by Reserve Bank of India. No bigger bank budgets. I have an example, would not like to quote in public. I know it. It has happened. So, consolidation is not the solution, but then there is no option also. There is no option.
So, are we overestimating the ability of UCBs to compete in a tech-driven banking ecosystem?
Yes, I fully agree with that. We are estimating that because the urban cooperative banks are not doing anything on the data. And that you have high-end technology, but if your data is incomplete, inadequate, impure, what kind of technology you are going to use? So you are overestimating. मेरे पास एक बड़े कंपनी का सॉफ्टवेयर क्या करोगे? That's how I see it. So unless you do data cleansing, unless you have a person in data analytics who does it, it's very difficult. At least T3 and T4 man should seriously think of people importing or recruiting for data analysis. Typically, I'll tell you a simple story. Since this enforcement department in Reserve Bank of India came up in 2017, what Reserve Bank of India started doing? They started calling data dump from the banks.
Yes.
When they call the data dump, when they come to your office, they know what wrong you have done. Easily they're aware. If they understand, why can't you?
Yes.
Because when you give the data dump, you don't analyze. The important thing is that data dump can be better analyzed with CAT tools, where the institute recommends.
Yes.
Now, what happens if you have a CAT tool, before you go to the data dump, you have chance of correcting the
Correctly.
Now, if you do that, your bank will always remain good because you will be in a self-corrective mode. That's what the regulator expects.
Yes.
तुमको गलती दिख गया करेक्ट करो उनका कुछ कहना नहीं है. They are not out to punish you.
Right.
As long as you are on even keel, there are genuine mistakes, they will always back you. They will always give you very long rope. Reserve Bank of India, let me tell you, it's one such regulator who is for the urban cooperative banks. They will give you long rope. They are tightening the regulation because of the miscreants in the sector. It doesn't matter, good. The entire sector will become good.
Correct. Sir, if a young banker came to you today, would you honestly recommend a career in UCB over private banks? And if yes, why?
I'll recommend in the UCB for two objectives. One is if you are interested in institution building, and then if you want to learn the leadership opportunities, you will do it. I became mature when I did my rural posting in public sector bank because there was nobody to help me.
Right.
So in a rural area, you have to deal with several people with a different language, different approach, different attitude. You automatically learn. So that is a leadership school. Why there are rural or semi-urban terms in public sector bank? Precisely for this. Urban cooperative bank, this will not happen because they do not have compulsion of rural workers. But then in urban cooperative banks, you have got an opportunity to build your leadership skills.
Right.
And then typically a CEO grows when the bank grows.
Right.
Now, when the CEO grows, you means that you are in a position to do a lot of institution building in the urban cooperative bank, which is not possible in bigger banks. You will be a dot in the whole this thing.
System.
Yeah.
So now we will go to a rapid fire round. So the first question in that, one reform UCB need immediately, but it will never get.
Flexible capital framework.
Right. Stronger today UCB model or a small finance bank?
Small finance bank.
Biggest hidden risk in UCB, credit, governance or technology?
Governance.
One word for dual regulation, efficient or confusing?
It doesn't exist.
No.
This is my view.
Yeah. Branch expansion today, opportunity or liability?
It's a liability unless it is strategic.
Strategy. Most overrated investment in UCB right now?
Technology without utilization.
One area where UCB still beat commercial banks?
Local trust.
Right. One area where UCB are 10 years behind?
Data analytics.
CVS implementation, transformation or just compliance?
It's a foundation, not transformation. It's a foundation. CBS is foundation.
Treasury operations in UCB underutilized or underskilled?
Underskilled. In many cases.
Should weak UCBs be merged compulsorily? Yes or no?
Case specific.
Okay.
It has to be case specific.
Caseless. Political influence declining or still dominant?
Still dominant.
Oh.
But still dominant.
Priority today, growth or survival?
Survival through invention. Growth will come automatically. You need to learn. I mean, the changing regulatory environment is very tough.
Yes. Are UCB CEOs empowered enough?
No. Most of the times, no. I can talk a lot, but I don't want to.
Future of small UCBs, independent or absorbed?
Absorb if they don't specialize.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. So basically we discussed many things of the UCB banking, and it was a very different talk today because we touched upon many aspects which are not more discussed in this forum.
Yes, in short.
Yeah. So thank you, sir, for your time and also sharing the views on this. And so your reply shows the experience you carry with you, the initial public sector experience, then the cooperative sector experience. And it was a very nice talking with you relating to this question. So once again, thank you for giving the
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes.
Great talking.
Yes, thank you.